Hi everyone, and welcome to Creative Chelsey. If you like this video, please let me know by giving it a thumbs up or commenting below. If you want to see more of my videos, press the subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications. If you need any Stampin' Up! Products to make this card, you can visit my online store, and the link is in the description box below. Today I'd like to share with you my fourth alternative project using the supplies from the Paper Pumpkin Kit in October 2020, Joy to the World. So this is a really fun kit. It creates 8 holiday cards with 2 different designs. And if you'd like to watch me unbox this video or see some of my other alternative projects, you can click up here in the top right corner and it will take you to my playlist. So what I like to do is take the contents of that kit and create alternative projects using the stamp sets and die cut pieces, and then possibly some of the other items in my craft room to make more beautiful cards. So today we're going to be creating this beautiful holiday card. So let's get started. Don't miss out on the fun. Make sure to subscribe by November 10th to receive next month's Paper Pumpkin Kit. This kit will give you everything you need to create beautiful and fun projects. Subscribe by clicking on the link below in the description box. So one thing that I love to use in the Paper Pumpkin kits are the envelopes. And I loved this really rich red color. It's Cherry Cobbler from Stampin' Up! And you can see that the envelope has that pattern going all the way down. And so when I send out my cards, I just send them in regular envelopes. And so for me, I want to use this pattern on my card. And so we're going to go ahead and cut this envelope apart. So I start by trimming off the bottom, and I'm just trimming about 1/8 of an inch. And then just rotate, make sure to line everything up so you get a nice straight cut. And again, trim off about 1/8 of an inch. And then at this point, you can open up your envelope and so that you can see that full sheet of pattern, and then you can just start trimming it down. Now you want to make sure you trim right up against that line, and so just trim it so that you have just the smallest amount of red coming off. Then over here on this side there is that fold line, and you don't want to cut right on that line. You're just going to cut a little bit below it, and we are going to have a full card front, so there's no border here, and so that needs to be cut at 4 1/4. So you can just go ahead and line that up, make sure everything is nice and straight. And then I do save this, and I've been using it for some of my other alternative projects. And like I said before, if you haven't seen those, you can click on my playlist, and you can find that link in the description box as well. And then our final cut, we're going to cut at 5 1/2 inches. And so make sure to line that up on the left side and then go ahead and trim. And you can see that there's not a ton of extra paper. So that's why we want to cut really close to that white edge. All right, so now we've got that full sheet that we can add to our card front. So some of the other items you're going to need from the kit is that longer rectangle that is the embossed Whisper White Cardstock. And then you're going to also need one of the gold banners. You will need a couple extra things just from your craft room. You'll need a piece of Whisper White Cardstock for the card base, and this has just been cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. You'll need a scrap piece to do some stamping and coloring for those flowers. And then you'll need a piece of basic black cardstock, and I've cut this out with this really beautiful shape from the Tasteful Labels die set. And this is one of the larger dies, and I just loved how it fit the Merry Christmas greeting from the stamp set in the kit, as well as give us that space that we can kind of design into. Now if you don't have this die set, you could use any shape, either a punch or a die that's going to fit the greeting you'd like to use on your card. So go ahead and just cut that out, and I've done that previously, and so we can stamp on this. So let's go ahead and do our stamping, and then we'll put our card together. So let's stamp our Merry Christmas. Now because I'm using black and we're going to be heat embossing it with white, I need to do something to remove the static, and I don't like to use chalk, like a chalk bag on here or a embossing buddy, because I feel like it dulls that black. So I'm going to use a dryer sheet, and I'm just going to rub that dryer sheet all over that label. So when you're heat embossing, you need to use a sticky ink like this Versamark. Go ahead and ink that up, and then you're going to stamp that right in the center of your label. And then take your white embossing powder, and you're just going to sprinkle that all over and tap off any excess. And then you're just going to heat this up until it's nice and shiny. I just love how using white embossing powder on black cardstock creates just a beautiful element for your card. So the next thing we're going to stamp are these flowers. And these flowers come from the stamp set that we received in the Paper Pumpkin kit. And we're going to be coloring them with the Stampin' Blend markers. I have found that the best ink to use when using Stampin' Blend markers is this Memento black ink. And it just coordinates really nicely with our black label as well. So we're going to stamp 3 of these, because we're going to do 3 full flowers. And then we're going to stamp 3 more times, and we're just going to remove that middle section that's the smaller flower. So I'll show you that in just a second. So now we're going to stamp just this flower area onto our card. So the rest of it can kind of just come off the paper a little bit. Okay, so we have 3 full flowers and then 3 that are just the flower. So now we're going to go ahead and color our flowers, and I'm coordinating the colors. So this pattern back here is Cherry Cobbler, and so I've got the Cherry Cobbler Blends combo pack, which gives me both a dark and a light color of that Stampin' Up! Color. So what I did here is I didn't do any real blending. I just really love the richness that these markers give to the image. And so I've done a light color and then a dark color for the outside. And then you'll notice that I switched them here. I have a dark color and then a light color for the outside. So I have 2 that have the light color on the inside and 1 that has the dark color on the outside. So let's go ahead and start with that 1. This is the dark. So that 1 with the dark color on the inside. So I'm just going to use that fine tip, and I'm just coloring in a solid color for this inside petal. I'm going to do it to that entire small flower. Okay. I love that boldness of that color. Now we have that small color is going to sit over this one we've just colored. But it's really important that you color the bottom part too, because if you just see from the edge that you're going to possibly see that coloring underneath, and you don't want to leave this area uncolored. So now we're just going to go ahead, color the one that will go on top exactly the same. And you know, we can actually not be quite as delicate because we're going to be fussy cutting this one out. So you can just take that larger end and just kind of color a little quicker over this one, because like I said, we're fussy cutting it out so that there can be some fun dimension to this card. You do want to make sure though that you don't get any color in the center of that flower. Okay, So now we're going to take the opposite color, which is the lighter Cherry Cobbler, and we're going to do the outside flowers with this one. All right. We also have another little flower up here. And we're just going to color that in, and you can do a two-tone flower again if you'd like. So maybe the outside's one color and then the inside the other color. So that flower is all colored. And then next we're going to do the leaves, and I have Old Olive. And so again, just use that fine tip. And what I've done here is I've done the dark color on one side of the leaf, and then I'll do the light color on the other. And this just kind of goes along with that bold two-tone color from the flower. So you can see how I've just done the dark on the half of each leaf. And then I'll take the light Old Olive and I'll bring that down onto the other side. I just love how that really makes the leaves stand out, and again complements that two-toned flower. Then the last thing I have here is just a dark Daffodil Delight. You could use any yellow. I just wanted a little bit of that gold color to come through, and I've added it to the berries, and then I'm going to add it to the center of that flower. Make sure to do both flowers. And that flower is now all done. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to do the opposite here. So again, we've done the dark on the inside and the light on the outside. And for my other two, I'm going to do light on the inside and dark on the outside. And I'm just going to do it again. We'll probably fast forward through it so that it's quick. Then I will fussy cut out some, and then I'll finish the others off camera. So let's start with that light color. Okay, so that part is all done. You can see how it's fun to have those two colors switch between the flower petals. Okay, so let's just do some quick fussy cutting. So take a pair of paper snips. I like to start right here near this large leaf. And one little tip I can give about fussy cutting is when you want to have a nice smooth cut, you want to start your paper down lower in the blade of the scissors, and then as you're cutting, you can kind of keep that blade moving, the paper moving through the blade, and it creates a nice smoother cut. So you can see how that kind of finishes out. And so every time I start a new petal, I bring that paper down lower in the blade of the scissors so that I can cut nicely around that as it create a nice smooth cut line there. So for example, another one here would be these berries. So starting low and then just kind of moving it through my scissor blade, and then when I get to the top, bring it back down all the way to the bottom, and then gently kind of wrap that paper, move the paper. So I'm not moving the scissors, I'm moving the paper around and through the scissors. So I hope that makes some sense and helps you with your fussy cutting. And it doesn't need to be a tight fussy cut. You can do a little larger border if you'd like. Okay, so now we're going to cut just the flower here out, and this one is going to sit on top of that middle flower. And so this one needs to be just a little bit tighter because you want to cut right along that edge, so it's kind of a seamless look. I'm just going to cut that part off. That paper was starting to get stuck on my scissors. Okay, and then any little white spots that might be showing, you can trim those off. Okay, so that little flower is done, and when we put these together, this flower is going to sit right over there and give some dimension, because we'll add a little dimensional in between. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video. I'm going to finish coloring and cutting out these, and then I'll be right back. Okay, so you can see that I am done coloring and fussy cutting out those flowers. So we can now put our card together. So start with your card base, and you're just going to fold that in half and score it with a bone folder. And this is a horizontal card. And the reason for that is because this text is horizontal. So make sure that when you're adding this to your card, that it's the text is the right way. I like to use liquid glue when I'm doing a full I like to use liquid glue when I'm doing a full card front. And so just go ahead and apply a little bit to the back of your pattern paper, and then you're going to add it. And the reason I like to use liquid glue is because it gives me a chance to kind of move things around and make sure that I'm covering the entire piece of cardstock. So once that's in place, I do use a bone folder to just smooth that glue out so that I don't get any bumps. And now we can keep working on our card. So we're going to lay down the embossed white paper from the kit, and it's going to go on the right side with about an inch on, like an inch gap here on the right side. There's going to be a little border on the top and bottom, so just make sure that is nice and even there. So next we're going to add the gold foil to the back of our greeting, and we're going to use dimensionals here to give some dimension between the gold foil and that greeting. So I'm going to place 3 dimensionals on the back of my black label right where I want that gold foil to be. And then just line it up so it's nice and even on each side. So something like that. And then you're going to add adhesive to the gold banner, and then a dimensional to the top and bottom. So that's going to hold it to the card. Now this is going to go about 1/3 of the way up the white cardstock, and you're just going to place it so it's about nice and centered on that cardstock and even. Okay, and then those flaps are held down by those dimensionals. So now let's put our flowers together, and then we'll add them to our card. So we're going to take those little flowers and we're going to place them over the little flower on the big flower. And I'm going to do this a couple ways. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a dimensional, You can use a large dimensional or you can cut them in half. And I actually am going to trim it because this is too much dimension for me. So I'm going to take my scissors and place them flat against my stamped image. So they're sitting right on the paper. And then I'm just going to go ahead and cut. And what that's going to do is it's going to cut that dimensional in half, and it's going to leave a little bit of dimension on the bottom. And now I also have that one for the top. And so then I can take the matching inside flower and add just a little bit of either liquid glue, or you could use a glue dot here. And I'm just going to place that over that cut dimensional. And if the dimensional is not totally flat, it has a little bit of one area that's higher than the other, that's okay. We're just wanting a little bit of dimension here for that flower. Okay, so you can see how pretty that is. So let's go ahead and do this to a second one. So I'm going to use that other half and just remove the paper backing and place it in the middle. Then I'm going to add some liquid glue, and you could add that to the dimensional as well. So either the flower or the dimensional, and then just line that up so you're matching it with the flower underneath. Okay, so something like that. All right, and then let's do it for our third one. So the exact same thing. Place a dimensional, take your scissors, and just go ahead and trim off. And like I said before, you're going to get some different heights here. And so that's okay. You're just looking for something that's not quite as high as a full dimensional. And then place this one on. And so again, we're just matching it to that shape underneath. Okay. So they all have this little bit of an angle here, and that's just fine. Like I said, it's we're just looking for a little bit of a change with that dimensional. Okay. Just making sure those are on nice and strong. Okay, so now we're going to add these to our card. We're going to start with this one here at the top, and it's going to need a little bit of adhesive under the flower, and this is where it's going to sit on the label. And then let's take a half a dimensional and place it under the leaves, and that's going to give it some support when it's off of the label. And you can place this really wherever you want. I'm just going to place it so that it's kind of near in between this kind of wording here. So you have Merry and Christmas, and then you just have a nice even space where that flower sits. And then you're going to, that is the one with the light flower in the middle. And then you're going to take the one with the dark flower in the middle, and we're just kind of flipping it, and we're going to add it underneath the label. So you can use some liquid adhesive or glue dots. And just kind of tuck that under. Something like that. So they're kind of touching a little bit here. So they've created a little grouping of flowers. And then this last one is going to go under our label over here on this side. So add a little liquid glue. And the berries are kind of coming out off to the left. So just kind of try that. You may need to lift it up just a little bit. And it just kind of goes right here in the corner. If your leaf here is coming off, just go ahead, lift that up, and trim that leaf tip. Okay, so those flowers are now on our card. And the very last thing I wanted to add to this card is just a little more bling. And so I've got these gilded gems, and I think they just go really nicely to add into that gold banner. These come in 3 different sizes, and this is a half a sheet. I've already used the other half, and so I just had cut it off. And you can use your take your pick tool and just go ahead and slide these off. I'm going to place the largest one right here near the flower and under the label. And then a medium size is going to go over here, just kind of under that first flower. And then the small size is going to come up here, kind of by that third flower at the top. All right, and now our card is all done. I hope you enjoyed watching me create this card today. If you're interested in getting your own subscription to Paper Pumpkin, you can click on the link in the description box below. Visit my blog, creativechelsey.com, for a written tutorial of this project as well as close-up images. Thanks so much for watching. Have a creative day. Bye!